Evening guys, welcome to today. And I'm going to start today with a bit of bad news. Yes, I took the cheap heap to Folds. I thought, you know what, because it's an electronic controlled engine, plug them in, find out what's going wrong, the whistles and bells, and there was a knocking noise from it, various bits and bobs like that, and I just said, look, just give it a full going over. Maybe it's a software update, maybe it's a crank sensor's gone, you know, something like that. And they had a look at it and they actually took the sump off to have a shufti. And the crank has got three fractures in it. That's it. It's dead. That's a whole engine rebuild, essentially, or a new engine. And yeah, the engine is done. So yeah, I'm gonna phone a scrap guy to come around and pick it up, because it really is scrap. I mean, yeah, you could put a new engine in it, you could do an engine rebuild on it and spend all the money doing that, get all the parts and all that kind of stuff, but then I've got all the bodywork to do, and it does need quite a bit, and bollocks to it. Yeah, bollocks to it. But anyway, I thought I'd start with that, so as you guys know, because some people are asking me how's the cheap heat getting on, so on and so forth. It's dead. Okay, it's dead. You know, put it this way, the guys at Ford turned around and said if I give it a couple of full bore starts, chances are the engine's just going to die completely. Catastrophic failure is the term they used. So yes, it's dead. But anyway, that's not what I wanted to do about with today's upload. Something somebody said, commented on one of my uploads, I think my last upload in actual fact, was, you know, going to a test and just the nerves getting on top of you. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story of my car test. Just so as you know, I completely understand where you're coming from. I did 4 car tests. 4. I failed 3. Because I didn't do the extra ones for fun. The first one was a real stupid failure. I'm not saying that the other ones weren't, although the second one, well, we'll get to that. But the first one was a really dumb failure. I did my car tests in Grays, test centre in Grays. I don't know whether it's still there. This is years ago. Anyway, you got the test centre, and there was various, well, obviously you could go 2 directions, but there was various sub-routes within that. And what they did on the first one was, I had this guy called Julian, and took us away, took us up the road, said to turn left, and it was a cut through to the main road. And it's one of those annoying kinds of junctions where you go in at a diagonal and then it turns and then you're onto the main road. And it's on a hill as well. Which is a bit of a bastard when you're on your test, but at the end of the day you do have to be able to do hill starts, you do have to be able to pull out on the main road. The thing is, and this is where nerves got the better of me, it's just so stupid. But I got to the junction and I looked to the right, because obviously I was turning left, and I looked to the right. And there was cars cresting the hill and coming down the hill, and I didn't want to pull out in front of them. You know, I didn't want to cause that kind of a catastrophe. So I waited. And the cars are coming down, but as they're coming down, they're getting slower. So of course they're cresting the hill, and there's a big gap, and you can go in that gap because they're slowing down. And I'm just looking right, and I'm thinking, what the hell's going on? I'm checking my mirrors every so often, and you know, all that kind of, stuff, and checking my mirrors and everything like that. One thing I didn't do, or at least I didn't pay attention enough to do, was to look that way. because about 75 yards from my junction was a mini roundabout. The actual procedure for that junction was, you pull up to it, car crests the hill. Now let's say there's the car's just going past you as a car crests the hill. That gap you can pull out in. And the cars, it literally just doesn't stop along this road during the day anyway. So I'm sitting there, and I get fed up. And in the end I think, well, I can't wait here any longer, and I went, and I turned and saw the roundabout. Failed, hesitancy. Because I went in a gap that had been presented to me about 3 or 4 times. So, hesitancy. I got 2 minors but 1 major, and that was my first one, and that was nerves. Now, the entire test, I only got 2 minors, except that 1 hesitancy, which was, even now, I look back on it and think, you bloody moron. It was just so, but it was nerves getting the better of me. Now, the second test, this one, even my instructor did his nut on this one. You see, outside Gray's test centre, or how it was, again, I don't know whether it's still there, but you had a straight stretch of road, you had the test centre there, straight stretch of road that went up round a bend, and up round a corner. Now on the furthest side of the road, from the test centre, people used to park. Various parked cars, and obviously examiners' vehicles and stuff like that. And on the other side, you could stop. But obviously not parallel because you'd block the road up. And my car, the Focus that I was learning in and doing my testing, was on the furthest side, so in a line of parked cars. And I got into my car, did all my bits and bobs, everything like that, you know, as you're supposed to, went through the cockpit drill and setting everything up, everything. And I had to pull out into my lane, parked cars. There was somebody else doing her test, parked the opposite direction, but in front of the line of cars, obviously further enough away for people to get through. Now I got ready and he said, in your own time, please pull away. Fine, no worries, so I've done all my checks, I put my indicator on, and I'm waiting for the last car. Last car goes past and I pull out. But of course I'm on my test, so I'm not giving it the beans like I would today. I'm taking off gradually, and I'm about 3 or 4 cars away from the end of the row of cars. So of course I start pulling out, the last car's moved. The person on her test, coming the other way, indicates and pulls away at the same time. Okay, because I'm watching her. Because I know I have to give to her because I've got the blockage. There is no indication. I move, I start pulling away, she indicates and pulls away at the same time. Yep. Now I go around, I do my test. I come back to the test station, park up, you know, everything like that, and I know I've done well. I've done good. And he's sitting there and he's looking at me. Tony, his name was, I believe. And he looked at me and he went, I cannot believe I've got to fail you. And my heart just sank. That was it. Because at one point during this test, and it will stay with me forever, I had to do a reverse round a corner. And it was school kick-out time and there was kids everywhere. And just before I did the reverse round a corner, I was looking round and I was like, I'll just have an extra double check because there's kids about and I don't want to hit one. You know, said it out loud. Tony turns around and he says, as long as they get back up, you're fine. So I was, you know, I was completely relaxed on this one. There was no real nerves on this one. And my heart sank. And he says, look, you've got no minors, but I have to fail you. And he explained why. Because I pulled away, she pulled away. I had the blockage, I had to wait for her. Now, of course, I'm explaining, she indicator moved at the same time, you know, click, click, and started moving. And my instructor started going nuts as well, because by this time he was now at the car, he was hearing the reasons why I'd failed. And Tony sat there and said, I cannot pass you, it's directly outside the test centre. If it had happened round the corner after a drive like that, I'd pass you. But if I pass you now and I get questioned inside why I passed you after letting you do that, I cannot pass you. So I'm now, I've torn off a strip, I'm about to go postal. And this person comes back. She stopped. And of course I'm seeing this, I remember the bloody car. And she's all, yay, like that. She's passed. Now, my instructor's trying to hold me back from lamping her examiner. I'm going postal at this point in time. Anyway, calm down, carry on. Well, my third test comes round. And this one, you know, I'd failed 2 tests. I was a bag of nerves. No ifs, no buts, no maybes. If I didn't pass this one, you know, I had my year out work placement because I was at college and stuff like that. And it involved driving tractors and forklifts and stuff like that on the road. So I needed my licence at this point in time. If I failed this, I was in a whole world of crap. And so I was as nervous as you could possibly be. And my instructor, a friend of the family, didn't help. Because he was explaining about one particular examiner who is a bastard. And anyway, the examiners come out because there's a few of us doing our test at the same time. And my instructor, you know, jabs me in the rib style thing, jabs me in the arm. And he says, it's him, it's this one with the dark hair, it's him. And he turns around and calls my name. So that really didn't help. To any instructors out there, don't tell your pupils, okay? Don't tell your pupils stuff like that. Because when that examiner comes out and calls their name, you can almost tick the failed box before they've even got to the car. And of course on my third one, I'm gone. You know, I'm gone. Anyway, get in, do all the whistles and bells, and I have to do a parallel park. Something I can currently do in a Class 1 truck off the A14. I had to do this parallel park, and I went in and I was about a metre away from the curb. And the examiner looked at me and he said, have you completed your manoeuvre? Now that's your chance to say, no, I lined up wrong, I'm just going to do it again, which you're allowed to do. My response? Yes. Failed. I was at least a metre away from the curb. I literally hadn't even bothered pulling in. And then my fourth one, I got Julian back and I went round 2 minor faults. And that was that. Right, I passed on my fourth. But I know what nerves do. I know what getting wound up about something does. The thing with your truck driving tests, if you're going to do your HGVs, you already have a driving licence. Remember that. You already have a driving licence. Okay? So by the time you go to do your HGVs, you should have at least had a year, if not longer, driving. So you should know lane discipline. You should know all the basic signs. The only thing you've got to learn for your HGVs are signs specific to HGVs. The other thing you've got to learn for your HGVs is just being a bit wider from the curb. That's it. Okay, it's the same process. Clutch down to change gears. You know, other than your mid-range splitter, it's exactly the same. You're just bigger, so you take slightly longer. Take a bit more time, take a bit more room, command the road more. But essentially it's just driving. So when it comes to the HGV stuff, it's an assessment. Now obviously you can fail it by cocking up completely, hitting curbs, pulling out in front of people, hitting pedestrians, so on and so forth. You can fail them. But it is an assessment. It is no longer like your car driving test where if you don't pass, you're not allowed to drive. You're not allowed to have your own vehicle and go. Obviously, if you don't pass your HGVs, you're not allowed to drive trucks, but you're still going to get in your own car and drive home. It is an assessment to see if you are competent with a HGV. So try to get that into your mindset. Because when I came to do my HGVs, I did my Class 2, then there was some cocking about with the DVLA. They hate me. Ah, the arguments I've had with the DVLA. I've had 6 months waiting for a V5C form, a car reg document, because the car I bought had a private plate, and they didn't believe me. Whatever. And I'd actually bought it from a dealership who was actually, you know, on my side on this one, because they didn't want the fallout. I did my HGV Class 2. My examiner marked it as a 7.5 tonne. He put the wrong number in there, the C1, not the C. And so I got my 7.5 tonne back, and I'm like, but the truck I took it in was about 8 tonne empty. So we were having this argument. It took about 6 months to rectify that problem. Well, actually, no, it was 4.5 months, and it was 6 months before my Class 1. So they just hate me. At the moment, you can do the license check, DVLA license check online. You can't do it for me. Oh, no, no, no. You can enter in all my details. I've got government gateway passes, I've got the works. But it has to be phoned up, and I have to get a little code that my agency can type in to see my driving licence. Even now. Myself and the DVLA, I don't know whether they just pick names out of a hat, and certain people, okay, we're just going to screw with him forever. But that's what's happening with me. Anyway, I did my Class 1, passed that first time, 8 minors. I did my Class 2, sorry, passed that first time, 8 minors. Did my Class 1 first time, 12 minors. It was close. And again, it was nerves getting the better of me. I kept cocking up on my gears and indicating a bit late. But nerves will get the better of you unless you start thinking a certain way. Now, when it comes to HGVs, it's an assessment. Supposedly, you can already drive. You've passed your driving test, you have a car, you're on the road. All you have to concern yourself with is your mirror checks, which you have to do on any driving test. I'd prefer to call them assessments. But fundamental thing is, you're already supposed to be able to drive when you get to HGVs. So it's just your positioning, getting used to the gears, which you should do on your lesson, and the reverse manoeuvre, which isn't that difficult if it's the same manoeuvre I used to do. Now, a couple of tricks your instructor should have told you. You've got your 2 cones, your 1 cone, and then the bay you've got to reverse into. You've got a line or wall down that side. Drive up to the 2 cones. Okay? The cone on the near side. You want to get as close to that cone as you can without touching it. Give yourself as much room on your side as possible between you and the line wall on your side. In your curb mirror, you want to watch that cone go in line with your step, your silver step. That's where you stop. Okay? You want that cone basically in the silver step. There you go. When you go back, you want to basically full lock to kink your trailer round. So full lock to the right, and then you want to start bringing it round and go parallel with the line. You want to get your trailer so that the legs, the trailer's leg in your near side mirror is directly halfway into that mirror, and you want to hold it there for a while whilst you straighten up parallel to the line with your front wheel. Run your front wheel along that line as close as you can whilst following the trailer around. You want to hold it so that the leg, like I said, is halfway into that mirror, and then when you get there, go back a little bit and then start straightening up. That way you'll be perfect diagonal to go in to the bay, and then it's a standard reverse. From what I remember. There you go. But just little points. For example, the full lock one, then bringing it round so you run parallel to the line. What you want to remember is the cone, step, halfway in between the step. You know, you got your step on the passenger door, cones in the middle. That's where you want to stop. And then when you're actually going round, you want your legs, the leg of the trailer, halfway in your near side mirror. And that's essentially all I remember of it. Just don't cross that line. The front, obviously you got your wheel and then you got the front of the cab. The front step of the cab can actually cross that white line, which is what's always amazed me, because it's supposed to be a wall. So you basically just rip the front of your vehicle off, but on the test you can actually, the very front edge, as long as your tyre doesn't cross it, the front step of your cab can. But if it was a wall, but whatever. But that's essentially what you want to do. Again, you've got your old emergency stop. You go around the corner, get up to a bit of a speed, then he says stop, and you've got to stop as safely as possible and as quickly as possible without locking anything up. Hopefully the ABS works on your trailer, because you don't want to lock that one up. But just try and figure it out to be an assessment. Nothing more than that. It's just, when you pass your HGVs and you go to get a job, whether your agency, whether your company, you're going to be taken on an assessment. And they're going to want to see how you drive. I've done many assessments. The driving test for HGVs is just an assessment. All it is. And so just try and think of it like that. You're just passing an assessment. And that should hopefully lower your nerves. Well, hopefully. But then I know how nerves affect you from my personal history. But anyway, I think that's enough for today. I've dragged this on as usual. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share about, do whatever it is you usually do. I'll see you in the next one, whenever that may be. Cheers.